James Harden is on the move again, and if he's successfully traded, this will be the third time since 2021. On the bright side, Harden has shown he's still an elite point guard, leading the NBA in assists and averaging 21 points along the MVP Joel Embiid. But today we're going to review several realistic trade scenarios, so stay tuned for the whole video because the last trade is the absolute best. First, let's start with the Pelicans. They're one of those good teams in a weird spot. They're talented, but they don't have that one player to push them over the edge, which in this case could be James Harden. When you look at the Pelicans roster, I could easily see him fitting in. However, this might not happen because I'm not sure anyone wants to go there. What would this trade even look like? Well, our idea is to send CJ McCollum and a 2024 first-round pick to the 76ers for Harden. McCollum is coming off a great year, averaging 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 5.7 assists while shooting an elite 39% from the three-point line on 7 attempts per game. Bringing CJ to Philadelphia will be a different look. A Tyrese Maxey and CJ backcourt would bring tons of scores from all three levels. And the most underrated aspect of this is both of them are exceptional playing off the ball. As we all know, CJ played many years alongside Damian Lillard. He's one of the most complimentary stars in the game even today. McCollum is also a pretty good point guard, like Tyrese. So while they can't facilitate like Harden, it's still pretty good. And having him will put the ball in Embiid's hands even more because CJ is extremely selfless, and as we just mentioned, is more than used to deferring to superstars. Because of that, Embiid will be more in control of the offense. And if they're unsuccessful in the postseason again, Embiid can't blame anyone but himself. And we all know he has a habit of throwing teammates under the bus. So overall, I like the trade for Philly. But on the Pelicans side of things, this team could be insane. Could you imagine a lineup of James Harden, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Zion, and Jonas Valanciunas? And even if Zion gets injured or isn't available, you could easily slide Trey Murphy into the 4 spot, making the offense even more versatile on both ends of the court. Defensively, the Pelicans aren't bad at all, but they still could use some rim protection. They already have one of the best lockdown defenders in Herb Jones and a good young defender in Dyson Daniels. So now all they would need to do is find some solid rim protectors. But the true success of this potential team lies on the broad shoulders of Zion Williamson. If he can come back healthy, things could get scary. But unfortunately, I wouldn't bet on him coming back or staying healthy for a long enough time. I feel bad for the kid because he has no control over the series of unfortunate events in his career. There's even reports that he's struggling with mentality. But in an interview with Gilbert Arenas, he let it be known that he was trying to get better. I'm at that point now because of certain things. I'm putting back the wisdom around me. I don't want to say older because they get defensive, but I'm giving people around me wisdom, who put me on the game for certain things and go from there. And hopefully he does get everything figured out. He's an immense talent with a ton of upside. But what do you think about this trade scenario? How far could the Pelicans really go with James Harden? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, the following trade scenario sends James Harden to the New York Knicks for Quentin Grimes, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Evan Fournier. For Philly, this trade addresses one of their biggest problems: perimeter defense. Quentin Grimes was one of the best lockdown defenders in basketball this past season. And not only that, but he had one of the best matchup difficulty ratings in the NBA. So he guarded superstars nightly and did a phenomenal job. Having DeAnthony Melton, Patrick Beverley, and Quentin Grimes as your point of attack defenders is a huge step in the right direction. And PJ Tucker's also a good defender. Another problem for the Sixers is their rebounding, especially when Embiid is off of the floor. And that's where Hartenstein comes into play. The 25-year-old averaged 6.5 rebounds per game in only 19 minutes, which is really impressive. We all saw how bad the Sixers' defense and overall paint presence looked when Embiid is on the bench, so Hartenstein could be valuable. He also played all 82 games, so he's always available. And Evan Fournier, he's a hit-or-miss player for sure. Last season, he only played 27 games and averaged 6 points, so his health is going to be a big concern. But still, when he's healthy, he's a perfect role player. In the 2021-22 season, he averaged 14 points per game while shooting 39% from 3 on 7 attempts. He's someone Philly could use significantly since he's been slowly growing as a shot creator and ball handler over the past few seasons. For New York, a lineup of Harden, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson could be okay. But personally, this is our least favorite on the list. The only way this team's potential success could skyrocket is if they traded away Julius Randle. I don't think I'm alone when I say the tandem of Harden and Randle just doesn't fit. Moving Randle will allow Harden to take control of the offense. And Brunson is an elite point guard as well, but I could see him deferring to Harden as he did with Luka in Dallas. Another reason there are better fits than this is because the Knicks have too many holes. They rank 19th in defensive rating, 19th in 3 three-point percentage, and their defense could be worse after losing Quentin Grimes. But what do you think about this trade? And now these are our favorites and even the most realistic trades for the last two picks. The first is sending James Harden and Furkan Korkmaz to the Los Angeles Clippers for Norman Powell, Robert Covington, and Nicholas Batum. I know some of you might think this is a bad trade, but I'll explain why it's the opposite. First, starting with Norman Powell, who averaged 17 points per game, shooting 47% from the field and 39% from the three-point line. He showed in the playoffs versus Phoenix that he can get to a spot whenever he wants. He's among the best role players in the league today and can create a shot, whether in the mid-range or from three. He's a terrific finisher and decision maker, not to mention he plays defense as well. Philly needed a veteran who could make things happen in more ways than one, because when Embiid and Harden went on slumps, Tyrese Maxey was the only player carrying the offense. Now, adding in someone like Norman Powell could be a game changer, especially with his former coach Nick Nurse coaching now. Nicholas Batum and Robert Covington are two solid players as well. The 76ers were the best shooting team in the NBA, so adding these two along with Powell will make them even more dangerous of a shooting team. While neither of them are elite point-of-attack defenders, they are fantastic team defenders. Plugging them in alongside Melton, Tucker, Beverly, and Embiid could make this the best defensive team Philly has had in a long time, on paper at least. Then, when it comes to Harden playing for the Clippers, we all know what must happen for them to maximize their potential. PG-13 and Kawhi must stay healthy. And I can already hear it, people saying that this super team won't work because it didn't work in Brooklyn. And I've got to disagree with that. KD and Kyrie are pure scorers and don't put too much effort in on the other end. But Kawhi and PG-13 play defense. It might not be as elite as in previous years, but when they're on the floor, they're still outstanding all-around defenders. A lineup of Harden, Paul George, Kawhi, Kenyon Martin Jr., and Ivica Zubac is more than capable of making it to the finals, especially with Russ, Bones Highland, and Terrence Mann coming off the bench. As I mentioned though, both George and Leonard must stay healthy, and because that is most likely impossible, that brings us to our last trade. And this one is hands down the best one. Our final trade: send James Harden to the Miami Heat for Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin. Now, I know Heat fans don't want to give up on Hero and Caleb, but still, we can all agree that Harden is better than Tyler Hero. Plus, the Heat recently signed Josh Richardson, who is a much better defender than Caleb Martin. They have about the same averages, around 10 points per game and shooting under 36% from three. The 76ers will be clogged up at the guard spot, but that's not a bad problem to have. It adds depth and versatility. Having a Hero and Maxey backcourt is terrible defensively, so a D'Anthony Melton and Tyler Hero backcourt would be the right way, with Maxey being a dynamic spark plug off the bench. Then, of course, Caleb Martin would fit right into the rotation at either the guard or wing spot, giving Philly even more scoring and shot creation. For the Heat, a trio of James Harden, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo would be perfect for Miami. Jimmy has already shown he can carry a team for most of the postseason, but he does have an underwhelming performance every now and then. And this is where James Harden could step in. The Heat fought their way to the finals with Butler and Bam. Imagine what they could do with Harden. His playstyle significantly opens up the Heat's offense, especially for Bam Adebayo. He could unlock a part of Bam's game we've never seen before. He's going to have plenty of opportunities to get buckets in the pick and roll, whether from one of Harden's signature bounce passes or over-the-head lob passes. Bam is athletic and skilled enough to be a dangerous pick and roll threat with Harden as the handler. And let's not forget, Harden had two 40-point games in the Boston series. And yes, he didn't score much in the other games, but in the end, he still played pretty well. He averaged around 10 assists per game, so he's highly productive in the playoffs, whether scoring or facilitating. If Joel Embiid didn't score just 15 points in the series last game, they could have won that round. But still, the entire Sixers lacked energy and assertiveness. That's not something you would see happen in Miami. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I love the idea of seeing the Beard with the Heat. The culture and organization will keep them focused and driven. Or it could be the opposite. But this team would just be so well-rounded if this were to happen. They have excellent role players in Kevin Love, Josh Richardson, and Kyle Lowry. And the rookie, Jamie Jaquez Jr. is looking like a perfect draft addition as well. But what do you think? Which team gives Harden the best chance to get a ring? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.